classes. It might take a second. Is there a tape on the bottom?
Hey, Jill. Hey, Patrick, how are you? Well, he probably can't hear me yet. Hi, Patrick. Is Joanna there?
No, she's not. She had surgery on her rotator cuff last week. She's recuperating from that.
Okay. We'll give her our best.
Well, she's doing very well, by the way. So
Good, good.
in spite of my best efforts.
In spite of.
It's 7 o'clock, so I guess we need to get started. So let's begin by setting our motivation for doing the practice today of reading the text before Geshe arrives. We can have our questions ready for him. Of course, for everyone on the prayer list, world peace, internal peace, to eradicate all diseases throughout the world. And of course, set your own motivation for doing the practice today. Of course, it creates a cause to have spiritual guides in our future lives. There are 8 benefits of properly relying on our spiritual guide. So that's one of these. So let's begin by reciting the Refuge and Bodhichitta prayer 3 times. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, maybe I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Now the mandala offering. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. O holy and perfect pure Lama from the clouds of compassion, that form in the skies of your Dharmakaya wisdom, please release the rain of vast and profound Dharma precisely in accordance with the needs of those to be trained. Idam Guru Ratamandalakam Niryatayami. Okay, so I believe that is it. So I'm going to stop sharing and begin by reading. Now in the hard copy or PDF files, we're on day 13 at the very beginning. We're 2 quotes past the image of Buddha Palita. Although the Lamrim extracts the essence of the excellent scriptures, to accomplish happiness depends upon the Dharma. Therefore, you should practice the Dharma. When you practice the Dharma, take it as your spiritual guide for the sake of gaining the complete set of leisure and endowments. If you don't accomplish this, it will be very difficult to attain in the future. Once you have contemplated well the great value and difficulty of obtaining leisure and opportunity, Jamgon Samkapa states, if you understand how difficult it is to find, there is no way you can sit idly by. Once you see its great value, you will feel devastated if it is lost on the meaningless. When this happens, you have generated the realization of the great value and difficulty of obtaining leisure and endowment. How to extract its essence has 2 sections. 1, developing certainty in the general presentation of the path. 2, the actual means of extracting its essence of leisure and endowment. Developing certainty in the general presentation of the path. There wasn't anything that our teacher taught that wasn't a means to guide his disciples to either higher status or definite goodness, all of which can be subsumed within the teachings on the path of the 3 types of beings. Therefore, the Lamrim is naturally different from other systems of practicing dharma, such as counting mantras. Attaining a higher rebirth as a human or God is a higher status. Attaining the state of liberation and omniscience is definite goodness. With respect to an ordinary person of lesser capacity, he or she is only concerned with this life and is not included within the 3 types of beings. With respect to a being of special capacity, he is not attached to this life, and due to his fear of the suffering of the lower realms, he abandons the 10 non-virtues and practices abandonment and adoption with respect to actions and their effects. Through this, he primarily accomplishes the state of higher status and is considered a being of lesser capacity. Atisha's lamp for the path to enlightenment states, know that those that diligently strive for the mere happiness of samsara by whatever means for their own welfare alone are beings of the least capacity. Regarding a person of middling capacity, after developing aversion for all of samsara, including the happiness of gods, humans, and so forth, he or she practices dharma with the mind striving for liberation. Lamp for the path to enlightenment states, those who turn their backs on the happiness of existence and have turned away from negative actions while striving for merely their own peace are called beings of middling capacity. This states that with fear and trepidation of samsara in the lower realms, they strive for liberation by properly training the path of the 3 higher trainings. Those who are not concerned for themselves alone, but observing all living beings strive in the 6 transcendent perfections, the 2 stages of Haya-Soka Tantra, and so on, are beings of great capacity. Lamp for the path to enlightenment again states, those who sincerely wish to eradicate all the suffering of others because of the suffering included within their own continuum are beings of supreme capacity. The purpose of leading others to the path of the 3 types of being is to guide them to the path of the great scope in the same way you ascend a staircase. Therefore, beings of the small and middling scope is a mere conventional nominal designation. For this reason, if the beings of the small and middling scope were non-existent, there would be no way of guiding them to the great scope. Furthermore, if we apply the example of 3 people traveling from here to Lhasa, one goes from Brulakang, where we are now, to Kongpo, which is like a being of the small scope. Next, one going to Inner Maldro is like a being of the middling scope. And then finally, the one reaching Lhasa is like a being of the great scope. Thus, the way of establishing the 3 types of being is like how 3 travelers have different thoughts. Therefore, both the beings of great and those of middling capacity must train their minds in impermanence, going for refuge in actions and their effects. The path of the being of least capacity is common to all three. The path of the middling being is common to both the great and middling scope, and the great scope is unique unto itself. The reason beings are guided through the stages has two sections. One, the actual reason. Two, the need to lead through the stages in that way. The actual reason. Shantideva's guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life states, the moment destitute beings are bound within the prison of samsara generate bodhicitta. Destitute refers to animals such as dogs and pigs. Whether a practice is the Mahayana or not is entirely dependent upon whether or not bodhicitta exists. You should contemplate the benefits of generating bodhicitta in your mental continuum, which has been illuminated in the supreme scriptures of the teacher, as well as Shantideva's compendium of trainings and guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. If I were to state the benefits concisely, the prayer to Maitreya states, I prostrate to bodhicitta, which turns one away from the path of the lower migrations, perfectly reveals the path of higher rebirth, and acts as a guide to a state without old age or death. If you generate bodhicitta in your mental continuum, there are limitless temporary and ultimate benefits. You will attain the states of happy migrations, and these are just the benefits from now until the attainment of enlightenment. If you don't train your mind in the path of a being of lesser capacity, you won't have the wish to be liberated from the lower realms and won't develop the wish to attain the state of higher status. Therefore, you won't receive the temporary benefits of bodhicitta. If you don't train your mind in the path of a being of middling capacity, you won't have the wish to be liberated from samsara and won't develop the wish to attain liberation. Therefore, you won't receive the ultimate benefits of bodhicitta. Therefore, your meditation must be preceded by these two motivations of small and middle scope beings. Not only that, but both of them must precede your meditation on bodhicitta as well. Shantideva's guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life states, if these beings previously didn't even dream of such a mind for their own welfare while dreaming, how will they generate it for the welfare of others? To generate bodhicitta, you need compassion that is unable to bear other living beings tormented by the suffering of samsara. For that to happen, you need renunciation that is unable to bear the way you are being tormented by the suffering of samsara. My guru, Chone Rinpoche, said that renunciation and bodhicitta are merely a change of perspective from self to other. You must develop the paths of the small, middling, and great beings by inducing each one with each preceding stage. For example, just as if we are going from here to Lhasa, we need to first arrive in Maldro, and to arrive at Maldro, we must first arrive at Kongpo. So to generate bodhicitta of the great scope in our mental continuum, we must generate great compassion through explanations concerning the dharma of a being of great capacity. To generate that, we need to generate renunciation as a preliminary that has become disenchanted with samsara while training the practices of a being of middling capacity. To generate that, we must first generate renunciation that is terrified of the suffering in the lower realms through explanations from the viewpoint of a being of the small capacity. Therefore, it is utterly impossible to develop bodhicitta without training the practices of beings of small and middling capacity. If you generate the realization of a lesser being through training as a being of lesser capacity, you're getting close to middle scope. If you generate the realization of a middling scope, you're getting close to a great being. Therefore, if you sincerely apply yourself in this way, the path will be very quick. If you understand this way of thinking, it will double the speed of the path to secret tantra. Therefore, the stages of the path are the quick path. Some people say that the Gedempas practice the long path, and although they call us the long path practitioners, they don't understand in the least how we are designating the name stages of the path to enlightenment. Previously, Chankya Ronpe Dorje was listening to teachings in the presence of Percho Ngawan Jampa. Afterward, Chankya Ronpe Dorje said, Lama Jampa, Rinpoche even combines the teachings of the secret tantras with the Lamrim. The profound features of secret tantra should be drawn out with the Lamrim. His way of teaching is really extraordinary. Moreover, you will not reach anywhere without the Lamrim. There are numerous stories to illustrate this point, such as that of a Vajra yogi attaining the state of extreme enter of the Hinayana and a Yamantaka yogi being reborn as an evil spirit. If you don't understand that the small and middling paths are shared with the great path, There will never be a time when you practice the complete path and so forth. Therefore, their great value will deteriorate. Between method and wisdom, everything from tranquil abiding and below reveals a cycle of teaching about method. From the two types of accumulation, they are the accumulation of merit. From the two truths, there are conventional truths. Likewise, these teachings concerning superior seeing extensively explain the cycle of teachings about wisdom, the accumulation of exalted wisdom, and ultimate truth. Thus, train through stages in such a path. You should also understand from the teachings on the essential points in the authoritative Lamrim text how to also train in Tantra. From the point of view of secret Tantra, purify your defilements of root downfalls through confession. And from the beginning, don't let yourself be defiled by a root downfall. This is very much like repairing your two legs through medical treatment once you break them, and not breaking them at all in the first place, respectively. The need to lead to the stages in that way. In general, train the mind in the bodhicitta of the person of great capacity is the actual Lamrim, and the paths of small and middling scopes are preliminaries. They are objects of training that are general activities of training. You may doubt. If they are practiced by a person of the great scope, it is not necessary to divide them into the three types of person. However, there are two reasons it is necessary to do so. One, it destroys the pride of thinking that you are Mahayanas despite not having generated the minds of the small and middling scopes. And two, it is of great benefit for those in minds of highest, middling, and lesser capacity. Even though it is a system of great benefit, without training the mind in stages, you will not develop any of the paths of the lesser persons, no matter how much you try. Thus, the Supreme Person will not incur the faults associated with developing the achievements taught in the paths of the great and middling scopes. Therefore, beings of all three capacities should be led through the stages of the Lamrim in this way, precisely because these stages reveal the importance of training in the common paths and how the Lamrim is a special feature that adds profundity and swiftness even to the practice of Tantra, the actual means of extracting its essence of leisure and endowment. In Je Tsongkhapa's teachings, these sections on the actual means of extracting the essence of leisure endowment and so on have unexcelled profound features, for which there are three headings. One, training the mind in the path common to a person of lesser capacity. Two, training the mind in the path common to a person of middling capacity. Three, training the mind in the path common to a person of great capacity. Training the mind in the path common to a person of lesser capacity has three sections. One, the actual training of the mind of a person of lesser capacity. Two, the measure of having generated such an intention. Three, dispelling the misconceptions about that intention. The actual training of the mind of a person of lesser capacity has two sections. One, developing a mind striving for future lives in the world. Two, revealing the means of attaining happiness in the future lives in the world. Developing a mind striving for future lives in the world has two sections. One, being mindful of death and that you will not remain long in this world. Two, contemplating how the beings in the two types of migration will have happiness and suffering in the future lives in the world. Being mindful of death and that you will not remain long in this world has four sections. One, the faults of not cultivating mindfulness of death. Two, the benefits of cultivating mindfulness of death. Three, how to cultivate mindfulness of death. Four, the way to meditate on mindfulness of death. The faults of not cultivating mindfulness of death. If we aren't mindful of death, we will not remember our future lives. If we aren't mindful of that, we will not remember the beneficial methods of karma regarding our future lives. Although we may recall death, we will not practice due to falling under the influence of postponing it until later. And although we may practice, we will come under the influence of the 8 worldly concerns, whereby our practice will be impure. All of these come from not being mindful of death and impermanence. To practice Dharma purely, we need a mind forsaking this life, which comes from being mindful of death. Furthermore, if we expand on a mind renouncing this life, this means the 8 worldly concerns. If we state it concisely, it is attachment to food, clothing, and pleasant conversation related to this life. Lama Yegompa stated, cut short the rope of attachment to your homeland. Show the back of your head to marsley loved ones. Rely upon the antidote for contentment toward wealth. These are the first steps of a renunciant. And until you separate yourself from the shackles of attachment to the appearances of this life, there is no way you will ever have an authentic Dharma practice. Instead, you will carry the water of loss to the blazing stake of death. The king-like precepts for forsaking this life are the 10 innermost jewels of the Kadam, which are the 4 entrustments, the 3 vajras, and the 3 expulsions. Geshe Chengawa said, While initially practicing, if the tsampa ran out, I relied on nettle soup. I couldn't find a patch to mend my lower monk's robe, so I pieced together bits of leather and was known as chenga. Dressed in leather skin. Now, even if I must support every living being in this world, I will be able to support them. The spiritual guide, Geshe Ben Gungel, said, when I was a layman, I fastened myself with 3 different weapons as though they were thorns. And though I trust each of those 3 as well as 2 knives, I had numerous enemies and few friends. When I was a bachelor, I had a field that would reap 40 bushels of harvest and was nicknamed the 40 Frightener. During the day, I was a robber, and at night, a village thief. Yet I still didn't have enough to eat. Now I have abandoned my weaponry and don't have even one enemy, having cast away work like spittle. Whenever hunger rises, it is related to the deeds of the wealthy. Previously, I could not find food. Now the food cannot find my mouth. I can't finish the food I have, nor can I consume all the things to drink that I possess. The mind of the true Dharma has doubled or tripled them. Geshe Potoa said, if someone is a Dharma practitioner, he will become someone different from others. When I was a lay person, I went 3 times to search for gold, but couldn't find even 1 measure of gold. Now, each day I receive many ounces of gold. In Pompo Yungwa, there is no one better known for his happiness and comfort than Geshe Kamlungpa. In Luksho, there is no one happier than Geshe Chengawa. Both of these beings have competence in the 3 jewels. Such things come from forsaking this life and practicing Dharma. J. Milarepa said, my happiness unknown by loved ones, my suffering unknown by enemies. If I can die this way in a mountain retreat, the wishes of this yogi will be complete. My aging unknown by my friends, my illness unknown by my sister. If I can die this way in a mountain retreat, the wishes of this yogi will be complete. My death unknown by men, my rotting corpse unseen by vultures. If I can die this way in a mountain retreat, the wishes of this yogi will be complete. Flies sucking my rotting flesh, insects eating my nerves and sinews. If I can die this way in a mountain retreat, the wishes of this yogi will be complete. With no footprints at my doorway and no tracks of blood inside, if I can die this way in a mountain retreat, the wishes of this yogi will be complete. With no one to surround my corpse and no one to weep when I die, if I can die this way in a mountain retreat, the wishes of this yogi will be complete. With no one to inquire where I went and no one to notice when I depart, if I can die this way in a mountain retreat, the wishes of this yogi will be complete. May this prayer to die destitute in a cave in an unpopulated region establish the welfare of migrating beings. If it is established, my wish will be complete. There are numerous teachings such as this that indicate the innermost Dharma, focusing on the state of a beggar and the innermost jewel of entrusting yourself to dying in a barren ravine. These are especially important for monks and indicate that they are content with their simple monk's quarters, clothes, bedding, and light. They should delight in being a renunciant and meditate while abiding in the 4 kinds of Arya beings. You should forget about this life and recall death and impermanence. Furthermore, it is similar, for instance, to a traveler set to go to Kham. If you recall death and impermanence, not only will your Dharma be pure, but you will not strive for the things of this life. Once you are properly mindful of impermanence, if you abandon this life, then even offering 1 stick of incense or reciting 1 round of manis will accomplish the welfare of your future lives. If you don't abandon this life, then whatever you do will be lost on this life and your Dharma practice will not be pure. If you aren't mindful of death and impermanence, then even though you may practice Dharma every once in a while, most of the time you'll be lost in distraction and will be unable to practice enthusiastically. Therefore, you will never get around to sincere practice. If you're mindful of death and impermanence, then no matter how much effort you apply to your virtuous practices, such as recitations, meditations, and so on, they will not be difficult. If you recall impermanence each time you engage in a practice such as recitation, it will have the profound significance of bringing the entire time spent on recitations to their essential point. As soon as you get up each morning, you should set your intention by summoning up thoughts of impermanence. Not only that, but if you have to have attachment for this life or anger, then you will act inappropriately in order to subdue your enemies, protect your loved ones, and so on. By engaging in various negative actions, you will ruin this life and the next by uniting yourself with numerous unbearable types of suffering. And although it will definitely benefit your next life, if you do practice Dharma authentically, you will not manage to practice in that way. Therefore, you will have to die with this regret at the moment of your death and so forth. This is the fault of not being mindful of death, the benefits of cultivating mindfulness of death. There is great meaning in being mindful of death. If you are mindful of death, even your practices, such as the 6 perfections, will be carried out without attachment for the things of this life, such as friends, wealth, and so on. Being mindful of death is a powerful means of destroying afflictive emotions and bad actions, similar to recollecting the view of emptiness, as we will see later on in the text. By being mindful of death and impermanence, when we see or hear of others dying, we should think, I too have a nature such as this. And if we then practice Dharma, once we are frightened of death, it will serve as a gateway to Dharma. In the middle, it will serve as a whip, exhorting us to Dharma. In the end, it will cause us to perfect the Dharma. What need is there to mention us beginners? The great Mahasiddhis of secret Tantra carried around skull cups and thigh-bone trumpets to remind them of impermanence, selflessness, and so forth. Out of his great compassion, even the teacher said that among all conceptions, the conception of impermanence and death is supreme. And as he was about to pass away, he said, all conditions, phenomena are impermanent. Thus, his final testament was impermanence, after which he departed. If we are going to practice Dharma, we need a solid mindfulness of death and impermanence. As the saying goes, the best Dharma practitioner will die with joy. The middling will die without sorrow, and the least will die without regret. Thus, if we recall death and impermanence at the moment of death, we will die joyously and happily like a son returning to his father's home. Previously, during an outbreak of smallpox in the local region, a certain Lama could not be spared from smallpox, and his attendant stated, how happy I would be if a small portion of this could be averted elsewhere, to which the Lama replied, in the morning I'm an old monk, but in the evening I will be reborn as a god in the Pure Lands. Therefore, I have no desire to avert this. Day 14. Acharya Chandra Goman stated, those who desire the blissful worldly sustenance are like elephants that have become attached to a few bits of dry grass growing on the edge of a deep well, who fall into the abyss without ever obtaining any. The elephant at the edge of a deep well is like a baby elephant who becomes infatuated with some grass and so on, growing on the edge of a well or a terrifying abyss. If he goes to the edge of the abyss in search of a little grass, he will fall into the abyss and experience unbearable suffering. Likewise, the majority of us also don't accomplish our lasting aims and instead come under the influence of the comfort and happiness of this life. Therefore, from now on, we absolutely must practice a beneficial Dharma. We should set our motivation by thinking, there is no means of accomplishing enlightenment superior to the stages on the path to enlightenment. Therefore, I'm going to listen to these teachings and practice them well. If we're mindful of death, it will be as the following states. The fox and the weasel at the gateway of the white grouse. Even if someone who is a learned and righteous great meditator becomes lost in the things of this life, his Dharma practice will not be pure. Je Droe Gompo said. Even a noble scholar and great meditator desires to be scholarly and noble for this life. Even the great meditator who writes, I do not meet with people above the boundary of his door, is wishing to be a noble, great meditator for this life. Although they practice giving, they only desire to practice giving for this life. This is analogous to adding tsampa to water and wishing to offer it to the 3 jewels. They even hope that others will see their actions. How could they ever gain any profit from these wild conceptualizations? Whatever virtuous actions they undertake fade away, carried away by the horsemen of all translators and pandits. Therefore, all ordinary beings must lance the conceptual thoughts of this life with each spear. If you don't lance this life with each spear, all the noble scholars, teachers, and meditators will not obstruct the door to the 3 lower realms. May the noble scholars and great meditators who are unable to avert the suffering of the lower realms reach the essential meaning of whatever it is they need. Thus, the fact that we pretend to be practicing Dharma, but it doesn't even become Dharma, is due to not being mindful of death. For example, if you don't know that there is a steep cliff along a house and you go out on a long walk exploring the grounds and paths, you will fall off the cliff. The same thing applies to us. Although we may do a great deal of investigation into spiritual grounds and paths, If we haven't forsaken a mind, focusing on this life, will not ever become Dharma practice. Therefore, although we may be a noble scholar and great meditator, we will be unable to avert the door to rebirth in the lower realms in our next life, even in this life, as Palden Gompala stated. Once you see the Dharma of cause and effect and impermanence as insignificant, the listening of the listener will be worthless, the teacher's explanations will be worthless, and even the wise will be shunned. Gyama Rigpe Wanchung proclaimed, although you have never accomplished even a single Dharma practice, you arrogantly think you are a Dharma practitioner. You fool. The first Dharma practice is to forsake this life. Examine your mind and see if you have done this or not. Thus, it is important that you forsake this life by recalling death and so forth, so that your Dharma practice does not become some insignificant semblance of Dharma. How to cultivate mindfulness of death. Respect to your mindfulness of impermanence, causing you fear of being separated from your loved ones and wealth. This comes from combining the two thoughts of attachment and craving for this life with the recollection of impermanence. Query. Well then, how should I be mindful of death? Response. You should fear death due to the feelings of loss about death because you won't have time to practice Dharma. This is the proper way to identify thoughts recalling impermanence. How to cultivate mindfulness of death has 3 sections. 1, the first root, contemplating that death is definite. 2, the second root, contemplating that the time of death is uncertain. 3, the third root, contemplating that at the time of death, nothing other than our practice of Dharma will be of any benefit. These are the 3 roots. Each of these has 3 reasons, making 9 reasons in all. Each of the 3 reasons ends with the determination, making 3 determinations in all. The first root is the contemplation that death is certain and it has 3 reasons. The first root, contemplating that death is definite, has 3 reasons. 1, the contemplation that the Lord of death is definitely coming and that there are no circumstances that can turn him away. 2, our lifespan cannot be extended and is constantly decreasing. 3, even while you are alive, there is no time to practice Dharma. The contemplation that the Lord of death is definitely coming and that there are no circumstances that can turn him away. If we don't extract the essence of our human life that we obtained this one time, the Lord of death is definitely coming. It doesn't matter what type of body we have taken, what type of country we live in, or when we were born. There's no situation where we will be unharmed by the Lord of death. Even the Buddha Bhagwan passed into the sphere of peace. Even among those who have attained the state of a knowledge holder of immortal life, at present, there is no one left to meet. Thus, if there is any single person from our compassionate teacher down to our own father and mother who can remain without being destroyed by death, how can you alone survive? Regardless of what type of body they have assumed or which country they live in, they all died. The collection of indicative verses states, there is no place on this earth where you could live and not be harmed by death, neither in the sky nor within the ocean, or even if you live amid the mountains. Previously, King Buddhadaka incited a war with the region of the Shakya and killed 77,000 of them. At that point, Buddha hid some of the Shakyas in the mansion of the sun and moon, some inside the crevices of Mount Meru, and some inside the teacher's baking bowl to the use of his miraculous powers. However, when the other Shakyas were killed, those hidden inside Shakyamuni's baking bowl and the rest simultaneously died due to the force of their karma. Not only that, but no matter what type of rebirth you have in the past or future, you will die as well. There's no such place where you can quickly run and hide, not even a place where a great sage with the 5 types of clairvoyance can go in the distant sky. There isn't any place in existence where you can live, where you can dwell in the domain of immortality. No matter how mighty you may be, you will be unable to overcome death. When the Lord of Death comes, even a mighty lion draws in his paws and dies. Even a Chakravartin king is unable to overcome the Lord of Death by paying him off with wealth. Although you may be very intelligent and clever, there'll be no way to use your intelligence and cleverness during death. Our lifespan cannot be extended and is constantly decreasing. Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life states, this life is constantly decreasing without remaining day or night. Once it declines, there is nothing that can extend it. How is it possible that I could not die? The extensive Sport Sutras declares, the 3 worlds are impermanent like autumn clouds. The births and deaths of migrating beings are like watching a play. The passage of beings' lives is like lightning a sky, moving with great swiftness like water falling from a steep mountain. The Supreme Conqueror Kelsang Gyatso, the seventh Dalai Lama, proclaimed, "Once we are born, we are powerless to remain even for an instant. We are racing as fast as we can into the presence of Yama, the Lord of Death. Although we are called..."
Lama Geshe Gelek is here.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Geshe.
Welcome back to class. Good evening, Venerable Hamu. Good evening, Venerable Tudin Ching. Good evening, Domasi. Good evening, Jill. Good evening, Bodhisattva Patrick. Good evening, Romini. Good evening, Neely. Good evening, Laura. Good evening, Anthony. Good evening, Carmen. Good evening, Pati, Panditji. Good evening, Elise. Good evening, Govina. Good evening, Michael. Good evening, Julie. Good evening, Peter. Good evening, Helen. Good evening, Ryan. Anyone watching on YouTube, then good evening. Oh, yeah. So how many pages you read?
18 pages. We're on day 14.
Day 14. No? Any question comes up?
Yes, Geshe, there are a couple of questions.
Oh, yeah.
One of them is in day 13, just a few pages into it, on the reason beings are guided through the stages. There's a quote from Shantideva that states, the moment destitute beings bound within the prison of samsara generate bodhicitta. And then it goes on to say destitute refers to animals such as dogs and pigs. So the question is, can animals generate bodhicitta? And the questioner thought only beings with precious human rebirth could generate bodhicitta.
In order to generate bodhicitta, it requires strong motivations and dedication. So I'm not sure like how much in animal realm they can motivate to do things. So that not just require motivations, it requires strong motivation and dedications. So then learning, there's only 2 instructions how to develop bodhicitta, learning them. So opportunity is very much limited. That's why even like achieving high state, what you call high state, like that include human rebirth, is very much needed in order to develop renunciation, bodhicitta, wisdom, realizing shunyata. The human life is very much needed to make make good progress. So when you look at the Lama Tsongkhapa Song of Experience, or sometimes it's called Brief Lamrim. So when you look at in the text, the Lama Tsongkhapa states very clearly, right before the confessions. So when you look at the stanza, Lama Tsongkhapa states very clearly, Lamjodula Tsinyi Tsavete, Manya Pato Sache Miyuves. You can't do much without having this human life. Yeah, you could create merit here and there, but in order to create a lot of merit to motivate the human life is very much needed. Lamjodula Tsinyi Tsavete, Manya Pato Sache Miyuves, Tiye Mazami Julala. Therefore, so we need to create the cause for human life. So that's why Lama Tsongkhapa requesting all of us to create the cause for human life. So then you have better chance to motivate yourself and to learn, to see the benefit, to develop faith, many things that human life can do, but a very little chance. So it doesn't mean they have no chance, but it's hard. It's very hard. Does not mean every sentient being has a chance because you have possessed Buddha nature, but the very form that you are in kind of limits how much you can motivate. Okay? So then, Ngunto, that's called term called Ngunto, refers to higher state of like life, that includes human life. So the direct cause of that human life is morality or ethics. Ethics, morality. Practice of ethics is very much needed. So don't think about when you're like practicing. Practice is not different than helping yourself. The same thing. Practice is not different than helping yourself. When you are practicing, you're helping yourself. That's all. It's not different than that. We should not think, practice is different than helping myself. Then we don't understand the meaning of practice. Practice is helping yourself. That's all. So then, as I mentioned before, every one of us has moral responsibility to help ourselves. So whenever you're engaged into practice, it means helping yourself, either contributing to your healthy mind or healthy body. And there's core relationship between healthy mind and healthy body. So it's all about, like generating healthy mind. That's what practice is, no different than that. So people should not think when they are practicing, maybe they are doing something else. No, they are just helping themselves. That's all. You are just helping yourself. That's all. Nothing. And thinking to provide ultimate freedom, so you're helping yourself. Okay. Then what else? So that Lama Tsongkhapa was stated very clearly, that without human life, even you can be born in the higher realm like Deva realms, not much chance. Not much chance. Human life is very much needed in order to achieve full enlightenment. Okay. Then what else?
Okay, Geshe, there's another question. This is near the end of day 13. There are the verses by Milarepa about being in a mountain cave. And so the question is, if the goal of highest practitioners is to achieve and practice bodhicitta, why do they aspire to being secluded in a cave for years until death?
How much we talk every day, if there's people around us, how much we talk, how much you hear what people say, how much you hear. At least when you live in a cave, you are not going to create any verbal negative karma. There's nobody to talk. Animals don't understand your language. They are not going to come there to hang out with you, to talk all kinds of nonsense things. Like there's benefit, isolating, physically isolating. There's benefit, there's a lot of benefit. And of course, like just physical isolation is not compared to mental isolation is much more important than physical isolations. You could do that. You don't have to go to cave. You could do, you could physically remain in the town or where. So that's why the monastery always builds like many miles from the town. There's a reason. There's in town there are so many distractions. So even just living in a monastery doesn't mean you're enlightened. Your mind still get distracted. So that's why monastery in the specific distance has been mentioned in the Vinayaka Sutra, how far monastery should be built from the town. There's a reason. Physically isolated doesn't guarantee success. So mind needs to be also isolated too. Physically, you can go to the mountains and like your mind is like foxes all over the place. So that doesn't help much. Is that a question?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always risks. Whenever we talk, there's always risks that may create verbal negative karma. And doesn't mean you have to go to mountain, you have to go to the cave. Doesn't mean you have to go to the cave. If you don't want to go to the cave, then you don't have a chance to develop bodhicitta. It's not like that. You can still meditate on bodhicitta. You don't know why you go, because you already paying mortgage or rent or like, so you just sit there, stay there, so meditate. So you have AC, you have heat. So mountain, there's no AC, there's no heat. It requires. So think about wherever you go, there you are. You could go physically go to mountain, but your mind will follow. So then that's the main question. So there are a lot of benefit, isolating oneself. If there's nobody around here, 1 hour, there's nobody to talk. You are not going to talk about politics. You are not going to talk about religion. There's nobody to talk. So that automatically there's like less verbal negative karma.
Yeah, so the
I said, like higher place. Why higher place? Sometimes place also do cause sinking mind. So that's why higher, probably energy will be lift up. So that's why there's also like environment benefit or higher place. So kind of like lift up your spirit. And what else?
So Geshe, she followed up with a little more, wondering how does somebody practice bodhicitta in isolation?
Bodhicitta is part of the mental practice. Doesn't mean that you have to every day go out, meet every single person on the town. So that's not how you practice bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is something that you do mentally. It's not like that you have to greet every person on the street. You have to go to door, not like it's impossible. It's practically it's impossible. There are like how many animals that live around your house. Even the ant, how you can greet them, that's impossible. So practicing bodhicitta doesn't mean you have to live with the people. It's all mentally, like perfecting practice of generosity doesn't mean there will be no more poor people in the world. That's not the case. Now you could be completely become perfect, generosity. You could not, doesn't mean that world is going to be empty of poor people. No, because it's complicated. As I said, it's complicated. Why there's a people like they are like struggling like to food, shelter, clothes. You know, it's complicated. It's complicated. So yeah, so that's important to know. So you don't need to be with the people in order to practice bodhicitta. Bodhicitta doesn't. You don't need to see people face to face. Okay, bodhicitta. So you can practice bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, as I said, 2 instructions. That's how you practice bodhicitta. It's not like, oh, you go to town and see people, greet them. That's not the instruction how to practice bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, there's 2 instructions. So you follow that. So that's how you practice bodhicitta. Okay? So very good question, very practical question, very good questions. But you can practice bodhicitta in isolation place. You don't have to go to town.
Okay, Geshe, now there's a question. What are the 2 instructions for practicing bodhicitta?
Amula, 2 instructions. Amula, you remember? Anybody remember Venerable Ching?
The 6 causes and 1 effect and the practice of Tonglen, Geshe-la?
The second one is exchanging oneself with other. Exchanging oneself with other. So the 6 cause and 1 results, that instructions coming from Shakyamuni Buddha to Maitreya Buddha to Arya Asanga, then to Lama Atisha. Lama Atisha possess both lineage. So the exchanging oneself with other, that instructions coming from Shakyamuni Buddha to Manjushri to Nagarjuna to Lama Atisha possess both instructions. So these are the instructions. If you really want to practice bodhicitta, so these are the instructions that you must follow, because these instructions have been already tested, and many people generated bodhicitta rely on those 2 instructions. So of course, first need to learn. So then meditate, like dagi kewa thame bas. According to Mahamudra teaching, dagi kewa thame bas. Your life, there's no number. There's no number. Dagi kewa, my rebirth has no number. There's no number. It's like almost like limitless. Drogundagi magen lemangche. That's how you remind yourself every day. All beings that has been your mother many times, not just one time, many times. Whenever you're experiencing, witnessing someone else going through difficulties, immediately you need to remember that person has been your mother. Immediately remember, how to develop affections towards that being, rather than saying, oh, I don't know that person has nothing to do with me. So this kind of mindset doesn't help you to develop bodhicitta. Dagi chewa thame ba dogon dagi magen le mangche kowa dadu nyuwa tamjun, kowa dadu nyuwa chamjun, samshin mashi jongba chinjilos. With that thought, so then meditate on that all mother sentient being has been your mother. Then meditate on that. So then not right away, eventually, next time when you say the word, it has some substance. It has some substance. rather than just mere word. So then slowly, it will touch your heart. It will touch your heart. It will move your heart. So then if you see someone, your perception of that being is completely different. Doesn't mean you have to go to town, meet person one by one. When you are practicing bodhicitta, when you minute you encounter with some beings, your whole perception of that being is just pure. There's nothing. So these two instructions, okay, very good question. Two instructions. One is sixth cause and one result. Result is bodhicitta. The sixth cause, the direct cause is mahakaruna, great compassion. So these are the things that need to remind ourselves every daily basis. It's not like, this is not just mere knowledge. You could learn, after that, once you learn, what you need to do is to try to implement in your day-to-day life, much as possible. You do get joy by practicing. If I'm getting joy, some level of joy practicing, you could get the same thing. There's no difference, the same thing. It just requires motivations, just require motivations. Oh, wow. When to meditate now, right now, physically, mentally healthy. When you get sick, it's hard. It's hard to meditate. It's hard to say prayer. Right now, you are physically well, mentally fine, physically healthy. Oh, this is the perfect time to create some merit. Once you create merit, in the end of the day, you feel like you accomplished something. Every single day, you could gain joy by practicing. You could gain joy. So you could gain joy. You feel like you accomplished something, you accomplished something. So then not every day something new, you're doing same thing every single day, same thing again. Why you do again? Well, it's just most of there's no substance. Even if you just say the word, you don't feel anything. You do same thing again. It's not like every day doing something new. You're doing the same thing again, and hoping that you'll gain some realizations. So that requires, consistency. Oh, so there's a way you can gain joy. Every day you can gain joy. You can gain joy every day if you practice. Means helping yourself, that's all. Nothing else. Helping yourself. Taking care of your life, not just this life, many more lives in the future. That's what you're doing. That's all. When thinking about it, of course, thinking about, well-being of all mother-centered beings, so it's very important to pray every single day for every living being. Very important. So remind yourself what is bodhicitta, the importance of bodhicitta, why you practice bodhicitta, why it's so good to practice bodhicitta, when to practice bodhicitta. Now, can't wait. Why? Could be last day. Never know. Could be last day. So it's important. Just learning is good. So then put it into practice, not just talk. Put it into practice. It's important. Otherwise, time pass. Today went by doing nothing. Tomorrow went by doing nothing. Running here, running there. So that day never come back. It's finished. It's gone. Never come back. It doesn't mean do another things. And of course, you have to cook, you have to clean, you have to take care of whatever you need to take care. But every day, sometime they need to be dedicated for Dharma practice. So taking care of your mind. So then, that joy is good, that joy increase. That joy doesn't decrease because that joy is not by eating something, looking at something. It's just generated by mentally thinking about Lamrim. So, and any form of practice that you do, so, okay. Then what else? So 2 instructions clear, 6 cause and 1 result, and like exchanging oneself with others. When you teach, you need to teach separately because they're 2 separate lineages. When you practice, you can alternate them. So then practicing exchanging oneself with others is more difficult. So that when you meditate on that, so then it's same like you are meditating on other 6 cause and 1 result, pretty much same thing, okay? When you teach, then you need to teach separately because there are 2 separate lineage, profound lineage, so then like, what do you call in English, there's 2 lineage, one is from Maitreya Buddha, Jajinchi, one is from like Manjushri, so 2 lineage. Then what else?
There are no more questions right now, Geshe.
The practice can be improved little by little. Practice can be improved little by little. So it's not right now. It's not complete. So then you go back, then read a little bit, make sure that you remember by heart. So then So then eventually it will be complete. No need a book. Everything's here. So then reviewing Lamrim, whether it's like foundation of good qualities, 3 principles, extra of the path to enlightenment, song of experience. This is like not small things. This is not small things. So then Lama Tsongkhapa himself said in one of the texts, whoever remember Lama Tsongkhapa names, that it means whoever said Lama Tsongkhapa names, the village, the Bunnawa Kun. So there's Lama Tsongkhapa says there's so much benefit, then you realize, wow, so fortunate, that you could say Lama Tsongkhapa mantra. You feel fortunate. You feel fortunate, very fortunate. And you are creating the cause to make Lama Tsongkhapa teaching many lives in the future, create the cause. Well, there's something I can do, you can do, we all can do, every day we can do, every single day. So then you remember what kind of karma you're creating. You are creating like, you are creating a lot of positive karma, No need to ask somebody else to, pray, make sure that you met Lama Tsongkhapa teaching the future life. You can do something right now, make sure that you meet Lama Tsongkhapa teaching in the future. Then on top of that, you request your Lama to pray. So then, that's good thing. You are doing something. On top of that, you are creating the karma. So then on top of that, so then like, even though I have like 16 lamas, out of 16, there are 3 of them are alive, all of them gone. But I am mentally connected with each and every one of them. I remember them every single day. I think about them every single day. Every single day I think about them one by one. When I do my Guru Yoga practice, I think about them one by one. So that's how I'm connected with them, even though they're all gone. So I remember having conversation with them, receiving teaching with them, serving them. I remember all of them. So then, I try to remember like every single day, one by one, and I make external requests based on the certain prayers that I do. So then I make external requests one by one, one by one. So make sure that I get some make sure that I remember them, so you can still make connection with that. Same like Kyoto Rinpoche, when Lama Tsongkhapa passed away, Kyoto Rinpoche appeared to Lama Tsongkhapa appeared to Kyoto Rinpoche 5 different forms, 5 different forms. That happens, because of the devotions. It's not like that will be gone forever. It's not like that. That's just a mundane way of thinking. It's not like that. Once you develop a spiritual relationship, it goes on and on and on. Okay? Oh yeah, so so all of us, all my friends here, and including Geshe Gelek too. So this precious human life every day. So like I said, I'm thinking like, so now not just me, so all of us. When you are sick, you can't really practice. When you are healthy, then you can, you put more effort, to practice. Okay, so practice is pure. It's not contaminated. Practice itself is pure. It's not contaminated. The practice, if you do it well, it will liberate you. No question. There's no doubt. There's zero, no questions. Practice has been pure. Lamrim teaching, the same Lamrim teachings been practiced by all our lamas. Same thing, is not like different set of Lamrim, same Lamrim. And then how come they manage to develop realization? Every single day, dedications, consistencies, dedications. Okay. So it's very important, so otherwise the joy will not just come out of nothing. You could gain joy. So I gain joy every day, doing little things, but you could gain joy, same thing, you can do the same thing if you dedicate yourself. So like we read day 13.
Yes, Geshe, we're on day 14. So we finished day 13.
Oh yeah. So that we need to put some effort, So we can't expect things happen just doing nothing. So there's unrealistic expectations. We need to put some effort. If you really So then motivation. So benefit motivation. So So this is the reason that we recited Lama Tsongkhapa mantra yesterday during the cremations. Those family members, they'll probably never get chance to hear Lama Tsongkhapa name, never get a chance. We, Sangha members, we create opportunity for them. So then what Lama Tsongkhapa said, Dagi Mingdam Joda Temple chance, Dibeleji Debu Nawa Pons, Punzo Deve Pala Rabjochis, Tejo Debe, Temple Zejuchis. Eventually, they will climb the ladder of Dharma, ladder of Lamrim, ladder of Dharma. They will climb that because they heard Lama Tsongkhapa. Who said? Lama Tsongkhapa himself said. Why Lama Tsongkhapa care about our well-being? What Lama Tsongkhapa received by saying that nothing, material-wise nothing. Lama Tsongkhapa was invited few times by Chinese emperor.
Yeah.
Emperor. Lama Tsongkhapa go there, he will probably receive tons of gold, silver, silk. Lama Tsongkhapa didn't win because they clearly shows Lama Tsongkhapa is free from worldly concern. Himself is free from worldly concern. Then eventually sent one of his main disciples because they are begging and begging. So then eventually Lama Tsongkhapa sent one of his main disciples. So, so Not just Lama Tsongkhapa, but if somebody here at the center creating a lot of merit, if you say that person's name, that benefits you. That benefits you. So, I have conviction, faith in Lama Tsongkhapa. The Lama Tsongkhapa has. Lama Tsongkhapa only think about the well-being of other sentiments. That's all Lama Tsongkhapa think. Lama Tsongkhapa was reciting Lama Tsongkhapa mantra, so much benefit. So then those people who hear mantra 3 times, we planted the seed in their mind stream. So, so why foundation of good qualities? Because hoping it will imprint Lamrim imprint in their mind. Lamrim imprint. Otherwise, this probably will never go to listen Lamrim teaching, I don't believe. So, so that's how the person, that is like benefiting each other. It's kind of very interesting. Like it doesn't happen like relationship like student and teacher. It happens all kinds of ways. Somebody die and their family comes, their family member, their relative comes, and all of them come, then they hear like Buddha's name, then that's how they imprint, so maybe like your pet, so then pet sitting there while you are reciting mantra, saying prayers, maybe that's how the pets create merit, maybe you bring them around the stupa, you read about the benefit of going around the stupa, you bring them there, so that's it's all connected in different ways, in different circumstances, different ways. So then maybe Lamula, so maybe if there are no more questions, so then may please read a little more. So more page, little more page. So
Yes,
J13.
Day 14 on our lifespan cannot be extended and is constantly decreasing. That section
It's got lifespan like
cannot be extended.
Nami get that's got one thing, Nami
There's a quote from Shantideva, the one that you always recite. And then there's a quote from Extensive Sports Sutra.
Nami, this one, Nami. God, Nami. Nami, because of the ripening result, that's how it's translated in English, ripening result. The maturing fruits, one of the 5 types of result. Nami. So lifespan is, actually there's 5 different types of results. So ripening result is one of them. So lifespan is ripening result. Even though lifespan is complete, but people could live on merit, positive energies. Life could go on and on, and based on the amount of merit that you create, you could live on merit. Like, what is the Miller about the Shantideva quote?
This life is constantly decreasing without remaining day or night. Once it declines, there is nothing that can extend it. How is it possible that I could not die?
So now here, the point, so need to understand the point about meditation on death and dying. What is the point of meditating on death and dying? Many things like, for example, monks and nuns, while you're putting up your practice, so there's one way you can say, I'm being just being lazy or like So putting up things, putting up. So that clearly, we have ideas, you could die any moment. We know, mentally we kind of know that you could die any moment, but we are not convinced, or it may not happen. The back of your mind, you think like, oh, it may not happen. And that mindset is like deceiving. That mindset will follow till time of death. You still think you don't believe you're going to die. So that mindset doesn't do any good. It's like motivating. That needs to motivate. So need to understand the point of the death, meditation on death and dying. If that makes you depressed, then you are not getting any benefit. You are not getting any benefit. Better not to think. Oh. That motivates you. Oh, maybe I should do something good. Today could be my last day. I should do something good. What that means helping yourself. That's all. As I said, practice is not different than helping yourself. We should not think, oh, practice is a separate things, or this is religious things. No, that's like helping yourself. That's all. It's nothing more than that, for helping yourself. Yeah, so what will you do? If it's your last day, what will you do? Try to be miserable, do just to be miserable, or try to be positive, or try to be happy. So that's the whole point of meditating on death and dying, is to not to put up. Not easy. No, nothing is easy. It's it requires some effort. That effort is worthwhile. That effort is worthwhile. That effort will be rewarded greatly, worthwhile. Otherwise, that's why we put up things. Maybe tomorrow, and then probably the kind of intellectually knows, you could die any moment, but putting up things, or tomorrow. So that thought that I'm not going to die today, that thought is kind of deceiving. It doesn't do anything good. So any spiritual practice, any spiritual practice. What else? What you say something? Would you say something? What's the benefit of meditating on death and dying? What's the benefit? Or no benefit? No benefit, then no need to worry, no need to think about that. No need to think. So I'm not asking any of you to think about death and dying. Asking like, what's the benefit? What's the benefit meditating on death and dying? What's the benefit? What's the benefit? Oh, no benefit. Or benefit. Anybody want to say something? Or it's just depressing? Meditating on death and dying is depressing or no? Or it's not beneficial or beneficial?
Geshe reduces attachment to the things of this life.
Very good point. So that's good things, Attachment, too much clinging, that's cause pain. So we have to be flexible. Not hoping to something bad is going to happen. We always hope nothing bad will happen. So, but we have to prepare for worse, but hope for good. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Hope for the best. You don't give up hope. Yeah, you hope that you will live long time. That's good. At the same time, you need to prepare that you could be died tomorrow too. You couldn't say, I'm young. Well, young people die. Children die way before their parents. That happens. It's not like, the death is not based on age. But generally speaking, people talk. Oh, so anybody else will say something? What's the benefit of meditating on death and dying?
Geshe, it acts as an antidote for laziness.
Very good. So that's exactly just to help us to motivate. Then when it happened, you look back, you don't have much regret. You try all your best, that's all you can do. You try all your best every single day, that's all you can do. Now it's time to go. Now you just let it go. You just need to go. No, it's time to go, need to go. That means it's not going to be, death is not a dead end. Death is the detour, not dead end. Life goes on, So, yeah. That's the Anthony says, that's a direct entity report. Actually, that's what it says in the text, laziness, okay? What Milarepa said, Chive Jin relatives. Milarepa went to the mountains because fear of death. Nobody's like looking forward to death. Everybody wants to live, Then he meditated on death is definite, time of death is uncertainty. He meditated on that again. Eventually that Milarepa kind of conquered the fear of death. So now Milarepa has no fear of death. But he says he realized the true nature of mind. He's meditating on death and dying. He's meditating on that. He's meditating on time of death is uncertainty. So then he realized the true nature of mind. So now he said, no fear towards that, no fear. So that's the best. No fear, not the highest, not fear. So then no regret. So then almost feel like going to visiting some family members to be the kind of excitement. Because opportunities, thinking of opportunities, when all these four elements dissolve. So now aiming for the opportunities. Okay, so yeah, so anybody else want to say something? Meditating on death and dying, benefit?
Geshe, there was a comment in the chat that meditating, you will be ready and know what to expect.
It kind of shapes your life. Helps you to, every day helps you to choose what's the best for you. Kind of helps you to choose, kind of helps you to make the better decisions. And you appreciate that you're breathing. You appreciate that you are right now, you're breathing. You're blinking, breathing, thinking. That moment you appreciate because you are alive. Next day when you wake up, you are kind of happy that you are breathing, you are blinking, you're breathing, you're thinking. Another day to do something good, something positive. So then your time on this planet, and you see there's something very precious, because it gives you opportunity to make better choice. Yeah, Tene, any comments?
Yes, well, I think it's and really encouraging to think that all our hard work will not benefit just this lifetime, but we're working toward a foundation of a better life in the future. So adds encouragement to us.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very true. That's very true. It's like it's helping yourself, not just helping this life, using this life as a foundations, or using this life as a resource to benefit many more life in the future. Life goes on. So then, it kind of makes you feel you're not just stuck with this life, you're thinking about multiple lives in the future. So kind of gives you more hope. Then what's about like the bad word I say, or the bad thought that rise? You can purify. You don't have to go on with that negative thought. You don't have to go with that negative action. You don't need to sing with that negative action. The negative action can be purified. Why we are having so hard to recite one mala of Vajrasattva mantra, the long one? You are not convinced. Not convinced that you purify. Even though you learn the purification practice, you are not convinced you will purify. Convinced. So then how is going to purify? So yeah, you have to have like unshakable faith in the practice, in the teachings. It's pure. It's been pure. It's pure now. It's going to be pure in the future. The people do many different things, but the teaching itself is pure. It's been pure. It's just teaching is not contaminated at all. Not at all. So so all we can do is we can try every day. We can try. We can try. So I think that benefits, that as Elise said, working for multiple, many more life in the future. Using this life as a resource, using this resource for benefit many more life in the future. And meanwhile, you are happier. You become more peaceful. You are happier. Every day you feel joy in your heart. Every day you feel like you accomplished something. In this life, it's not just, it will only benefit next life. No. In this life, you get benefit, this life. You are happier, you are calmer, you are more compassionate, and you are like thinking through Lamrim. Whenever things happen, you are thinking through Lamrim. You are not thinking from mundane thought. You are thinking from Dharma thought. You are thinking from Dharma thought. So then, similar problem here, there, it become nothing. It's become nothing. So because your perspective change, you don't take that very seriously. Even though somebody else makes it very serious for you, it's nothing. You are thinking about liberating yourself from the samsara. Therefore, this simple thing is nothing. It's nothing. Your idea is to liberating yourself from the samsara. So this problem, somebody said this, somebody said that, this becomes nothing. It's become nothing. Your goal is huge. You are not just like that. So then you are thinking from the Dharma. You are thinking from Dharma thought, not Dharma thought. So when you read the Song of Experience, the Lamrim composed by Lama Tsongkhapa, what Lama Tsongkhapa said about this Lamrim path, just read a little bit and think word by word. Then you will probably have some motivations, some inspirations that I should review Lamrim on a daily basis. What Lama Tsongkhapa said. Lama Tsongkhapa himself said, it's not like somebody just made it up. Lama Tsongkhapa himself said. That's like really amazing that Lama Tsongkhapa said that you can do, you can memorize, you can review, you can say. Isn't that amazing? That's really amazing. So every day you feel amazed, you feel fortunate, you feel lucky, you feel so lucky, you feel like so fortunate, you feel like wow, that's amazing. That, it's like whatever I'm doing now is like something very amazing. You can feel every day you can feel, every day you can feel. Then while you're doing the practice, then you remember very clearly what Lama Tsongkhapa said, very clearly about what kind of practice that Lama Tsongkhapa said. If you do that, then you'll get immense benefit. The very practice that Lama Tsongkhapa talk about, that you are doing it. That's why you feel amazed. That's why you feel amazed. That's why you feel fortunate. You feel very amazed. Oh. So then you thought, oh, I should do when I'm healthy, not physically difficult, when there's no headache. So I should really motivate. I should motivate. Motivate. So then someday there's people come, then they talk, then there's nothing you can say. No, then just don't develop spiritual stress. Spiritual stress, you just enjoy it. Just don't develop spiritual stress, you just enjoy it. You just talk like normal people, you talk about all kinds of things, but back of your mind is always Dharma thought, is wide awake. Even though you're having like normal conversation, back in your mind, you're completely aware of Dharma, back in your mind. Okay? No, yeah, so thank you very much. So sorry, so much been said. So much been said. So much been said. Oh, yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. So now, Alhamdulillah, you do dedications. So please.
Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may we quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel Bodhichitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, we too dedicate all these merits in the best way that we may follow their perfect example. We dedicate all these roots of virtue. The dedication prays to the best by the victorious one thus gone of the 3 times, so we might perform good works. We dedicate whatever virtues we have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect pure Losangdrapa to shine forever. Now the long life prayers, first for His Holiness. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chen Rezi Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then for Sarah J. Kesar Rinpoche Jetsun Losandalak, the one who mastered his speech at a very young age, the one with great patience received the name Avatare, the one with great precision who spread the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa on Bliss and Void, Lama Ornament of the Yellow Hat tradition, please remain until samsara ends. For Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Majjhina's victorious doctrine. Masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers honoring the 3 jewels. See for myself and others, your disciples, please live long. And of course, 7 Tara mantras for Geshe and Geshe Sangpo's long, healthy, happy lives. Om Tare Tu Re Soha. 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 Om Tare Tu Re Soha.
Oh yeah, thank you very much for coming to the class, and wish you all have a wonderful night, and see you next Sunday or next Wednesday. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you,
Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you,
Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you.
Good night.
Oh, yeah, good night.